Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We have another pregnancy update, hopefully the second to last block update before we can get to kind of live updates, which is super exciting because I feel like there's just a bit more that we can kind of discuss in the live updates. But for today I'm gonna go over everything from week 13 to 16. So if you haven't already seen my previous two updates were week 4 to 8 and 9 to 12, then I will leave them linked on a card and the playlist to kind of all my pregnancy videos in the description box. But without further ado, let's dive on in to quite possibly the best 3 weeks of my life. So, like I just said, probably the easiest 3 weeks of my pregnancy so far. Weeks 13 to 16, although symptomatically they were probably the easiest, mentally they were probably the hardest. So I'm going to obviously go over all of that kind of thing. As usual, I'm going to go over like symptoms and stuff. I'll throw in some bump date pictures at the end of this video and I'll share kind of how I've been feeling and anything that kind of happened in these 3 weeks. So in the UK, at your 12-week scan, you can optionally have a chromosome abnormality test. So this includes just checking the fluid level at the back of the baby's neck during the scan, and then a quick blood test which checks for just checks your kind of risk factors for Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome and Patau's syndrome. I apologise if I got any of those wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's those 3. So you just kind of tick a form to say whether you want them done, and then you kind of get a letter through. I think it's within 7 to 10 days if it's low risk. If it's slightly higher risk, I believe they phone you within 5 days or something like that, which for me almost happened, and I was scared, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously I don't care if the baby had anything wrong with it, or even if it still does, doesn't bother me at all. But I had my 12-week scan on a Tuesday, I believe it was, and I had a phone call on Friday morning from a private number. So I was like, don't know who this is, it's either important or my grandma, because she phones off a freaking private number, and it was the hospital, and I was panicking like really bad. And the lady said to me, oh, you know, you had your chromosome like abnormality test done earlier on in the week, we need to do it again because we messed up. There was either, I think they hadn't wrote something on the test, like on my like form thing, or they hadn't done something right. So I had to go back and have that redone. Excuse me, I'm very windy. Oh god. So I had to go back and have that redone, which wasn't a problem. We just drove down there that day. Luckily my husband was off work that day, so we just drove down there, got that done, and then within, I'd probably say a week and a half, I got my letter through, and all 3 came back as low risk for me, which obviously is awesome. So very reassured at this point that things are going smoothly, there's nothing too obviously wrong, or anything like that. So in terms of symptoms, a lot of my symptoms from like the previous few weeks had kind of followed on into these next few weeks. In terms of my appetite, that was still massively decreased. I didn't want to eat anything at all, not through lack of wanting to, but I never had that hunger feeling or anything like that. And I've said this in one of my updates before, for me it got to the point where my body's blood sugar would go low before I thought I really should eat something. And like I could feel that kind of happening, which isn't a nice feeling, but I'm glad my body can do that and it could tell me. So yeah, but it was a massive struggle, like I've said before, in terms of like thinking of meals to do for me and my partner and things like that. It's been very challenging to have a decreased appetite. It's not something I've ever had before or I'm used to, so been very hard, and was very much still there, along with my headache that was still there. So I think at this point it's probably been 7 weeks or something like that. So I'm starting to think, okay, maybe it's not a caffeine withdrawal headache, maybe it's something else, I don't know. I had obviously noticed an increase in thirst, so I was like, well, it can't be dehydration. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. This is my first pregnancy. Like, I don't know how this works. I don't know what any of it means. So obviously, as you do, I jumped on Google. Wasn't really a lot on there, which is kind of a good thing, because usually it tells you you're gonna die if you Google anything, but it didn't. Obviously it just says to kind of keep an eye on it, speak to your GP or your midwife and things like that, which I have been doing. And yeah, so I was just kind of plodding along with it, like I say, periodically, not all the time, taking paracetamol, only when it got to that point where it was literally pounding, you know, when you can almost hear your pulse in your brain. It's just like your head pounds that much. It's horrible. I would only take paracetamol if it kind of got to that point. And then I also got one of those like forehead stick things, which note, if you haven't ever used one before, don't put it too close to your friggin' eyeballs. Just, you know, to your temples up here, it's fine, but don't get it too close to your eyes, because that stings like a mofo. So yeah, that's pretty much all I'd been doing to kind of counteract the headaches and stuff. I'd spoken to quite a few different people about it, obviously medical people. I'd spoken to my GP and things like that, and just kind of friends and family to see if they'd kind of experienced this kind of thing before. A couple of friends had said that they had had kind of pregnancy related headaches and things. It's fairly normal. Just kind of do as much as you can to combat it in terms of staying hydrated and things like that. And obviously if it either like persists, get worse or anything like that, just obviously make sure it's checked out. So that was that. Headache was very much still there, starting to kind of get to that annoying stage now. Like I say, it's been about 7 weeks and it was just like, this is relentless. I cannot concentrate. It's bad enough that I can't like fuel my body. My head is now pounding. I just can't even basically. It wasn't a nice place to be at, but that was that. So the other thing I have written down symptom wise, it's not really a symptom as such, but it's something that was one of the things that I wrote down in my app a lot, and I still do now because it's just throughout the past 20 weeks got progressively worse. I mean, I feel like you can't really tell on camera. Obviously I have makeup on, I've got my exposure up a little bit as well to kind of almost blur kind of my skin a bit, but my acne has just been very testing for me. For someone that doesn't or never has really ever suffered with acne of any sort before, it's been, I don't know, quite hard for me. Yeah, so for me, this is bad. Like, obviously I've got makeup on. I'll show you like a little clip, because I filmed a little clip the other day actually. I'll include that here so you can see kind of what my skin looks like without makeup. It is all down here, so it's definitely hormone related, which is fine. I know it is a good thing at the end of the day, because it's almost like a reassurance that my body's doing what it's meant to be doing, it's producing what it should be producing and things like that. So I'm happy in a way, but it also has been a bit of a knock. You know, I'm gonna be honest. It's not the nicest thing. I know I'm not the first person to ever have any kind of acne. I'm certainly not going to be the last. And yeah, but it's just, I think it, yeah, mentally with this as well, just kind of waking up every day and like having this new massive whitehead that are really, really sore. Like, I'm not even joking, they are so sore. Like, even sleeping, like, it hurt. So yeah, it was a bit of a downer, but otherwise I felt pretty normal. Yeah, I didn't really have many symptoms, as it were, for these few weeks. Like I say, just they kind of persisted from the previous few weeks. I didn't have anything kind of spontaneously pop up, nothing kind of happened. My bowels were still the same, they were still fairly normal, and things like that. Everything was like normal, and it kind of felt like, oh, maybe I'm getting to that nice second trimester stage that people talk about, where you kind of just feel normal, you feel a bit more yourself, and you know, not as tired and things like that. So I was fairly happy to be at this kind of stage of my pregnancy. Obviously I'd had my scan, had my reassurance and things like that. I kind of felt good, but also weirdly at the same time I was struggling a little bit mentally, and I've put on here from about 15-ish weeks, I just had this kind of blah feeling. Now, this could be a mixture of things, and one of them was, at this point, in the UK, we were told, as beauty therapists, apologies, I've just realised I've got lipstick everywhere and I've got hair on my freaking lip now. We were told as beauty therapists that we couldn't return to work on the date that we'd been given. So this was already the second time this had changed, and quite frankly, that was the biggest blow to someone that's hormonal anyway, and someone that just kind of does struggle with their mental health. It was a massive thing to have to deal with. And I don't know if, well, it undoubtedly did contribute to how I was kind of feeling at the time, in terms of feeling quite blah. Yeah, because I didn't see an end. I didn't see the end to all this. I didn't see the date that I would go back to work, and it was horrible. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I think that was the kind of main culprit almost. And I feel like the other thing was, and I think a lot of people will probably get me on this, because this is the kind of point in pregnancy where your body starts to change quite a lot. Obviously your boobs are engorging and things like that. Like mine, I did actually write on here, there was periodic kind of times of my boobs being sore within these kind of few weeks as they were kind of growing and things like that. So obviously you're going through changes like that, a lot of bloating and things like that, so your clothes aren't fitting the same and you're starting to kind of feel a bit deflated by that. And also, like for me, and I'm sure I can speak for a lot of other people, it's kind of the point where you're almost starting to show a bit, but people still think that you're just a little bit fat, or just extremely bloated. So you, obviously your body's going through these changes, you're kind of at that point where you're like, okay, I'm starting to tell more people now and I'm starting to show, or I feel like I am, because obviously I'm seeing my body change and things, but other people are probably just thinking, God, has she just gained a little bit of extra lockdown weight? So yeah, I think that and my kind of work situation kind of contributed to the blah feeling. Excuse me. So yeah, that pretty much summarizes weeks 13 to 16. It was very up and down. Symptomatically, it was obviously great. My test results were really positive. So I had all these things kind of going that were like, oh my God, everything's great. Like, you're starting to feel normal again. And it's all, you know, you're all kind of on this, I was on this high. And then it just kind of took a drop, through nothing I could change, obviously. these things happen. And it was very circumstantial, I know. Obviously, if Boris hadn't turned around and said, you're not going to work tomorrow, then maybe I wouldn't have felt quite as down, I don't know. Obviously, my body was still changing, so I think that played quite a big part in it without me consciously thinking that it did. I honestly never thought I would be bothered. I've always been a fairly like average to bigger girl. I've always been like, I've always carried extra weight and things, so, and it's never really bothered me. I'm quite body positive, if you like. So yeah, I never thought it would really bother me, but I think it's quite tricky. I think if you've been there, you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you are going through that, please do not forget you are only human and you are growing a human. Like, don't be hard on yourself. Like, this is the hardest thing that you will ever have to do in life. So don't worry about what you look like. I know it's easier said than done, but I probably needed to have been told that, I think. But yeah, anyway, we're gonna leave it there. We're not gonna go off on a tangent about body positivity and weight gain and all of that fun stuff. We'll save that for another day. But I hope you did enjoy this video. I am trying to keep it real in these updates. I'm trying to be as clear and just honest as I can be, and I really hope you guys appreciate that. Obviously these are as much for me to look back on as they are for you to kind of gain some insight maybe, or I don't know, maybe help you feel a little bit less alone if you're also going through this. So I hope, like I say, you did enjoy this video. If you did, give it a massive thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, make sure you head over to my Instagram and give that a follow, because I do kind of more live updates and things over there. I do kind of bump dates and things like that, kind of things we're getting up to. So yeah, if you like me, you like my style of video, make sure you stick around. There's plenty more coming your way, and I'm super fucking excited because I filmed my travel system video the other day, so that's gonna be up pretty soon and I'm excited. Bye guys.